let's talk to our political correspondent, Katherine Forster, who's raring to go this election year. Heck, you're going to be busy. We're all going to be busy, aren't we? The big question here, and I tie it in with Skidmore and you know, the fact there's going to be another by-election, all the rest of it, is are people just going to get fed up with this?
You would wonder, wouldn't you? I mean, we've had a lot of political drama over the last few years, haven't we? Especially within the Conservative Party, the ruling party. They've gone through 3 prime ministers. Who would have thought when Boris Johnson got that 80-seat majority that they'd boot him out, somebody else would come in, be gone after 7 weeks, and here we are with Rishi Sunak. So certainly there's a lot of voter dissatisfaction with the government, but even though Labour are riding high in the polls, not necessarily that much love for Labour either. Basically, people are fed up with the Conservatives, and Labour look likely to win off the back of it. But lots of questions about what they would do and lots of difficult choices, assuming they do get in, because there's not much money around and it's going to be hard for anybody.
Here's one for you then. There's a detail... manifestos are published when a general election is announced, and so people know exactly what they stand for. They don't release a lot of details beforehand. Do we think Labour's keeping their powder dry, or do they not know how to solve these issues at this stage?
Well, they are planning for a May election, so I expect that they actually do know a lot, but they're not going to want to reveal it ahead of time. I mean, they've come in for a lot of criticism, haven't they, for not being clear about what they would do, and the scrutiny on them is going to go up and up and up this year. But despite the fact that Rishi Sunak has said, working assumption, general election, later half of the year, he could change his mind. He could go for May. Personally, I think it's unlikely. I know you disagree, Stephen.
Emily Thornberry said it was the worst kept secret about being a May election.
Yeah, well, there was speculation, but why on earth would Rishi Sunak go to the polls when they are 20 points behind? I just don't get it. But so Labour are making sure that they are ready, whatever. But what they don't want to do is announce in detail the plans now, because they're worried that the Conservatives will sort of set elephant traps for them. And also in terms of, like, tax cuts, they've not committed to tax cuts. They've said they want to get the burden down on working people, but it depends on growth, etc. It's likely that the Conservatives are going to announce more tax cuts. We've got the national insurance cap coming in today. But Jeremy Hunt, the Chancellor's budget, March the 6th, he's saying he doesn't know if he's going to be able to cut taxes more. I suspect they will find some money from somewhere, because they've got to have a positive offering, haven't they? They've got to give the electorate some reason to vote for them, because let's face it, the economy is not in a great state at the moment. So
let's just touch on as well this looming by-election, which has now put another by-election, which has put the Tories in an even deeper hole. This is Chris Skidmore that says he's quitting. Jeremy Hunt's actually been speaking this morning and saying he profoundly disagrees with what Chris Skidmore says about these new domestic oil and gas licences, and they are needed for energy security.
Yes, the government's argument is we can't get to net zero just like that. We have to use oil and gas in the meantime. Much better to use our own. It's here, we've got it, it's our resource. Let's use it, let's capitalise on that while we transition. Much better that than importing it from the other side of the world. Chris Skidmore passionately disagrees. He's resigned the whip. There's going to be a by-election as soon as possible, because he was Energy Minister under Boris Johnson. He did a big net zero review. He says the future will judge harshly those that vote for this legislation coming to Parliament on Monday, basically increasing the amount of oil and gas being taken out of the North Sea. But, of course, bad news for the government. That's 3 by-elections they're now going to be facing, probably going to lose in the next 2 or 3 months. And this seat particularly, Chris Skidmore was going to go anyway, and also this particular seat, which is Kingswood in Gloucestershire, is going to disappear at the next election because there's boundary changes. So whoever gets it now is only going to have it for a few months and then it's going to vanish. So really, really not how Rishi Sunak would want to start off this year.
I just can't, but I just keep thinking about that lady. Do you remember it was Theresa May called the election?
Brenda from Bristol.
Was that Brenda from Bristol?
Oh,
no, not another one. I know.
And she said, I can't be doing with this. There's too much politicking going on.
Honestly,
and
I think she's Brenda from Bristol might be having another go now.
Speaks for the nation, I suspect.